out and about. I really don't know what this structure is, but it seems to be some sort of climbing frame for children, or they can jump off it. But it also makes a good seat for slightly elderly men. I was thinking, I will tell a story, and this is a tiny part of my testimony. It's usually a tiny part that I leave out when I am telling the whole thing, but every tiny part has its application, and this is an opportunity to take time apart on this walk this afternoon to tell this part of the story. Now, many years ago, I was unemployed, and I was still living in the city of Falconer, and I got mail. And one day, as usual, a stack of mail arrived. It was given to me, and I laid it aside unopened. But as soon as I did that, something stirred within me. And I knew, before I even picked those letters up, that one of them contained something about Dunfermline, and whatever it was, I had to be involved. Now, I don't get these feelings every day. In fact, I could count on the fingers of one hand how often I've had these clear feelings, this clear inner guidance, which I actually believe came from the Holy Spirit that day. So I opened the letters, and I didn't even read them properly. My eyes scanned for one single word, and that word was Dunfermline, the name of the city I was living in, because I knew when I saw that word, whatever it was I had to be involved with would become clear. What are the chances, eh? Well, in this case it was 100%, because I found it right in the middle of one of these letters. There it was, smiling out at me, the word Dunfermline. And this letter came from Youth with a Mission, and they were going to be having a short-term outreach in Dunfermline from a church where I already knew the pastor and his wife. And so it was that I volunteered to be part of the team. And it gave me experience, my first experience of short-term mission. We were going door to door, leafleting, and also running events at the church, inviting children to them and running children's programs. And in the early evening, we were offering things to adults. We were reaching out to whole families in the neighbourhood. And so that's what mission is for. It's about reaching out to families, preaching the gospel in one way or another to those who still need to hear it. I have no idea what the results of that mission were, except for two things. One of the ladies who also volunteered to be part of the team ended up being a member of the church. And the other thing I know is it gave me experience that I used. It didn't just come to an end for me. I became involved eventually full-time in missions. Some people are set apart for missions. God sometimes sets some people apart full-time. For most people, they're still called, but they have to do it in a more conventional fashion. They have to have proper jobs, as they like to say, and they support those who don't have proper jobs, such as myself. They support missions, they support their churches, and that's the biblical pattern. Some people are called out, not because we're special, but just because we're called out. Some people are special and they still have to go to the factory or the office or whatever it is they go to. But they are just as precious. We are all involved in mission in one way or another. It could be in your church, it could be supporting mission. You can do things week by week in your church, that's mission. But anyway, as I say, for me it all started with that letter, but it was the way that I received that letter that was unusual. I could have just opened up these letters and eventually I would have seen it anyway, but it was a stirring in my heart before I even opened these letters. The conviction that whatever is inside this, you have to be involved in it. You have to do it. That was unusual. And I've only ever had one of these unusual experiences since. And it was a much more recent one, which I am not going to tell you about, because it's for me only at the moment. But sometimes God does stir you up. Sometimes the Holy Spirit prompts you to do something. If you are being prompted by the Holy Spirit, are you doing what the Holy Spirit prompts you to do? I will leave you with that thought. And although I'm not wearing the badge, let's call this Peniel, combined with out and about.